hello everybody. Welcome back to Powered by Forever podcast. And I'm told this is version 9 or episode 9, I should say. So we've made it to 9, which is probably 8 more than we thought we were going to make. And as you can see, Greg isn't with me, which is a sad thing, but he is on the other side of the world right now because today we are in United Kingdom, in Solihull, for the opening of our brand new office here. And as you can see, I'm not alone. We wish Greg the best. It's not the same without my co-host, but we'll try our best without him. I'm joined with our Director of Sales here in the United Kingdom, Michael Vittoroulis.
Thank you for having me, Aidan.
And we've already joked about the fact that we have 4 mics. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've already done that joke. And of course, our special guest, Jayne Leach. It's good to have you with us.
Nice to be with you.
How are you feeling doing podcasting today?
Well, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
I've never done a podcast before. So,
Really?
Yeah, no, never done one.
Hey.
So super exciting.
I've done 9
You're a
now.
little bit ahead of me then.
Yeah, we've done 9, and they are hyper successful.
Okay.
My son watches, and I heard that some lady in South Africa also mentioned she watched. So that's 3 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my grandson can't wait to see it and to hear the podcast.
So we're going to
yeah.
double our viewership
We're gonna
because of
double
your
our
grandkids.
viewership, yeah.
Remind me, grandkids, how many?
In total, we've got 8.
Who's your favourite?
I love them all, but some are nicer than others at times.
I did say that we were in Gothenburg yesterday, and a lady said, I'm a preschool teacher. And I stopped and said, which one's your favorite? You know, and I was thinking I was being funny. She got very serious on me, and she said, actually, I've learned to look for the good in every child.
Oh, that's a very diplomatic response.
So I felt about this big, you know, and I was like, oh, way to make me feel terrible. Like I'm like the git parent that has favorite kids, you know, but no, I don't, because actually you can't see it on camera, but one of my kids is sat right here, so I better keep my mouth shut. So, Michael, it's good to be in your brand new office.
Well, it's amazing to have you, Aidan. Finally, you know, we have been waiting for this moment, so I'm really happy you're here.
Yeah, I am so excited to be here. This is obviously very special. I know for all of us, but for Jayne and I, is just a few more years in Forever UK, and this literally is the grand opening today of our new multi-purpose, multifunctional, center of the city type style of office, which we're thrilled about, and hopefully we'll be able to provide some images of it because it looks fantastic. You've done amazing in such a short period of time.
Thank you very much. And well, we needed to do it, you know, to the standards of Forever.
Yeah.
So when you visited here in September, end of September.
Yeah.
You've been around, and you said, "Yep, this is the one." You mentioned a couple of places that I need to look up and get some ideas, and I did. So we took all the best ideas from all the latest offices, and we made it the best for us. We made it the best.
But I think you're right, Aidan. It's the speed at which it's been done. You know, this is my first time here today, and I've walked around in amazement because it looks like you've been here for years. It looks so established. It's really, you've done a great job.
Thank you very much. And it was you know, doing the job and then coming here at night or coming here a little bit in the morning, just to make sure that we're ready for you guys. So we're really really happy.
Get like even just the permitting, the planning, the contracts, everything. I know Claudine was a big part of that, and it's amazing. We actually snuck in yesterday. We bribed the security lady. It wasn't that difficult. It only cost me 1 bottle of aloe berry nectar. And I thought, what kind of security? Only like, if I offered 50 quid, she would have given me a children. I don't know, but she
I think
showed
you've got
us
enough of your own, actually.
Yeah, no, for sure, too many. But it was really. It was almost an emotional experience, to be honest, because and you guys know that my wife is from Solihull. And we used to actually date and go to not to the mall right there, but in the shopping area. In fact, a quick story before I do our toast is, and I know that not everyone has this opportunity. I'm grateful for it. But Laura worked 4 days in her entire life. And those 4 days happened in a store up there. Remember Laura Ashley?
I do remember it as well.
And she used to work in there. And my mum called and said on Thursday morning, hey, come down to the beach this weekend. And I called Laura. I said, we're going to the beach. She said, no, we're working. I'm working. And I thought, no, you're not. So I went in there. I told her boss, I said, Laura's quit. we walked out the shop, straight in the car, and we drove to the beach. So that was the end of it. You know, I'm saying there's no way that work's going to stop me having fun. But I suppose I shouldn't admit that in front of everybody, but I think
that's a great positive mindset. Don't let work stop you having fun.
Yeah, I love it.
I think that could be a new tagline.
A tattoo?
Yeah, should be a tagline, you
Let's
know.
go.
Let's
Where
go.
are you going to have your tattoo?
I was thinking about having one the other day, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just a little one.
What would it be?
Just a little tiny elephant, for all sorts of reasons.
Oh, yeah.
The
No,
sort of the
my mind just exploded with all the memories of you and elephants and the connection.
And the travelling in Africa.
Wow,
and,
yeah. And I can, even on the more emotional side, we'll get into that in a minute. Let's not forget your tattoo.
Let's not.
Would you be surprised if you saw an elephant with a tattoo of a human on them?
Oh, well, I think that might be highly impossible.
Do you ever think that? You know, everyone has a dolphin on them. Dolphins must look at that and go, what the hell? Anyway, hey, more importantly, let's toast. It's part of the Greg would be really disappointed if we didn't have our Toast of Success, Toast of the Powered by Forever podcast. And we're going to do it today with aloe mango, which is in my humble opinion, the best tasting aloe that we've got. All the best to your success in this fantastic new building. To Jayne's continued success for that wonderful elephant tattoo. And cheers, salud,
forever, yeah.
Kampai, and all those things.
It is nice.
It is really good.
It's very good.
I'm trying to think where we were when someone said, hey, could we do a mango flavor? I think we were in Hong Kong, maybe. And then all good ideas happen like that, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden we
Puts
start.
a thought in your mind.
Yeah. And it keeps going. So let's talk a little bit about you. You've been in Forever for?
This is my 31st year. Yeah.
It's just incredible.
I was 12 when I started.
Yes.
I was young.
We were just talking about how amazing that you look.
Well, thank you.
I'm not going to tell everybody your age, but I'd love to. But it's just fantastic how vibrant and healthy and full of vitality you are.
Well, I think the products have a lot to do with it.
I hope so.
I never miss a day taking the products and using them all.
Uh-huh.
But I think you have a choice in life. You can either get out of bed in the morning and look at the world and say, oh my goodness, or you can get out of bed in the morning and embrace the world, no matter what challenges you have. So,
Tell me about the beginning.
Oh my goodness.
Can we go back there?
We can go back there, because I remember it with such fondness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was August 13th, 1993.
93?
93, 94. 93 or 94.
I was still in the Navy.
Were you?
Yeah.
Yes, you were, because you weren't part of Forever then.
No. I was in the Navy, I didn't join Forever till 96.
Right.
That's amazing.
So we had 3 years on you.
So how did you get involved? What were you doing?
We had a phone call, as so many people do, and I remember the phone call was, looking back on it, it was a phone call that had no purpose really, but a lot of excitement. There was a lot of excitement in the voice of the person who was calling me. But when I put the phone down, I had no idea what he just told me, because he was also quite new in the business. But what I remember specifically is the feeling. I had this feeling of something's happening, even though I didn't really understand what was happening. And just the excitement, there was an excitement. And put the phone down and thought, well, yeah, a good old-fashioned phone, the one that's plugged into a wall.
Yeah,
Do you remember those?
Rotaries.
With the rotary, you could stretch it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a mobile phone. And I remember at the time thinking, well, I don't really know what I've just been told, but I have to go and have a look. And so we went down to the services on the M1 and met Chris, and he started showing us a little bit about Forever. And 30 years ago, all we had was some literature that was in English on one side and Spanish on the other.
Oh, from America.
Yeah. And there were some A4 flyers.
Yep.
And I remember looking at it and thinking, I still don't know what he's talking about. But this may sound funny, but coming from a farming background, a lot of the photos that I saw were of the aloe being grown and the aloe fields and the way that they were looking after the fields and harvesting. And I just thought, wow, farmer to farmer, that just made a huge amount of sense to me. And then I looked at the marketing model, didn't understand that either. But it just felt right. Everything felt right. And I remember going home and saying, right, okay, we need to get that box.
Were you with John for the first pitch?
So it was John, myself and John. We went home, we thought, right, we need to get that box. But we didn't really have the money for the box, but we knew that box was important. Combo pack, it was called in the days.
Yeah.
And we found the money, because we were a little bit, tight with 4 kids at home and not a lot of money coming in. And we bought the box, and I remember getting the box home and putting it on the kitchen table and thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? You know, I work with horses and I'm farming, and now I've got a box of aloe vera products. And I remember taking my first sip of aloe and thinking, oh, what have I done?
Yeah. Because
the flavour of aloe is unique.
Exotic.
It's different. I wouldn't call it exotic. This is, back in the day, it was different.
Yeah.
And I remember ringing up our sponsor, Chris, and saying, this doesn't taste right. And he said, yeah, that's what it tastes like. And I looked at John, I said, we're going to build a business with this. And he said, yeah, I think we are.
Did you have that mindset right then that you were going to build a business? Is that...
We did. We actually, when we'd looked at Forever, and I remember coming up to our then head office in Selly Oak,
Yep.
and Dusty Green was here, dear Dusty, and I remember meeting him for the first time, and he gave us such a big vision of what was possible. So even though I didn't understand it, the vision of what was possible was right there. And so, yes, I did know we were going to build a business. I had no idea what it would look like. I had no idea what I had to do. But in my mind, in my heart, I knew that this was our vehicle. This was our forever vehicle. There was no plan B. We were in. When we registered and bought the box, we were involved in Forever.
So let's, just before you got involved, explain, you got the 4 kids at home, you know, and it was a blended family and all of that going on. And talk a little bit about that, because what I'd like to do is kind of draw a comparison or a parallel between your experience 30 years ago and the experience of most of the people that come into our business. There's a similarity. What was the why?
Okay, well, yes, we were a blended family. John and I were both single parents. We met each other. We brought 2 kids each to the table.
Right.
And we wanted to give our kids the very best that we could give them. For me, that was education for the kids. John's kids were a little bit further on. They were doing GCSEs and A-levels. But we wanted to give the kids a good life. We didn't want to live on a wage income. It wasn't enough. We were juggling plates at the end of every month, and we didn't want to do that. So we knew that we had a great work ethic. We knew that we had good attitudes, and we knew with the right opportunity that we could make it work. And we looked for many, many different opportunities, and nothing resonated. Nothing. And then when we came across Forever, it was like all the boxes were being ticked. And it just, as I said to you before, it was a feeling this was the right company. So when we joined Forever, we joined with a mindset of we want to be successful.
Right.
We wanted to give our kids a great
But that
life.
drive was the kids.
The drive for me was the children. We didn't want to be counting the pennies at the end of every month. And we knew that if we found the right vehicle and worked hard, that we could change that. We wanted to change the landscape of our lives.
I love all of that. But one of the things, too, that I think is important, more so now than ever, is people understand how difficult it is. It's a slog, you know, and I think it's important that people understand that this is a 30-year journey for you.
Yeah.
You know, and
But I think that's what I said. We knew we both had a work ethic.
Yeah, I noticed you said that. Yeah.
And this is very important to me, because I think in this world now that we live in, where people assume and expect instant gratification, I think that they have to understand that when you build a business, it is a business. It's not a get in and get rich quick.
Yeah.
It's putting the work in.
Yeah.
And when we first started, we were doing it. John was very full-time in another career. I still had, you know, hundreds of sheep around and horses, and very involved in farming. We had 4 children to bring up. So we started Forever in the nooks and crannies. But we never counted the hours. I mean, literally, we got up a bit earlier. We stayed up a lot later. We turned off all distractions. We focused on, you know, making the time to put into Forever business. And we took that very seriously. There were no, well, we'll do it tomorrow or next week. We set ourselves our daily tasks, our disciplines. We had a business plan that we put together, as basic as it was back in the day. And we committed to it, because without commitment, nothing happens.
Yeah, and I love that clarification, because it's one of the things that we're trying to fight for right now, is this realistic way to approach this.
Yeah.
You know, and that is exactly how I described it. It's a journey. Now, Michael comes from a similar background of entrepreneurial struggle, You know, I know your mum and dad really well, and God bless them, fantastic people, and we send 2 kisses to your mum and dad. And you came from that entrepreneurial life, and you saw your mum and dad kick off in Forever. Tell us about that.
Well, as you know, you guys were talking about your story, and back in '93, it was exactly that year that my parents started. As you know, my father brought a tooth gel home, and he said to my mother, "This is gonna change our lives." And of course, my mother looked at him and said, what did they sell you?
Were you in Greece or in the States?
We were in Greece at that time.
Yeah.
Paul was a journalist. He was traveling, risking
yeah.
his life. And he said, this is what is going to get me home. And actually, this was it. And then, the company was just starting at that time. And I could see the change in the house as I was 14 years old, seeing all these products around, having the sense of the product, seeing them, with the books and the trainings and the brochures, printing stuff for them as well. So it was a lot of back office for me at that time. But I grew up to, look up to them. I looked up to them because I could see that it was not easy. But I looked up to them because I could see that they could change. And I think that's one of the things I love now, because I feel that a lot of FBOs are like my parents. The work we do for them here, is what makes a difference at home. So I really admire the fact that I could continue in their journey and make them proud.
Do you think the business has changed a little bit? Let me just ask this kind of as on the side and just listen to what you guys are saying. It's much more authentic now, in the sense where there was a little bit of fake it till you make it when we first started all those years ago. Now the authentic human experience, its difficulty, its struggle, its joy, its reward is presented equally. Is that fair?
I don't think so. I think it was authentic back in the day.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that was something that we made a very conscious effort right at the beginning when we were building our businesses, and that is to be as open about everything that we do as possible. Yeah. Because I think...
Well, let me ask this, though, and maybe it's trying to justify my question just a little bit, but was that unique to you? Because you weren't uniquely successful over a long time. Maybe that was your superpower.
I think that was our decision.
Right.
When we first started in the industry of network marketing, which was in Forever, and I said to you, we'd looked at so many other opportunities. We were advised to find a network marketing company. We were told all those years ago, if you want to change the direction of your life, if you want to enjoy a free life, then you need to look into network marketing. Mm-hmm. And we looked at so many companies and nothing resonated. And when we found Forever, that was the company. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we observed was that so many companies were just maybe a great plan, but not great products, maybe great products, but not a great plan, or not great leadership. Forever had it all. And, with the vision that Rex brought to the table, it was an easy decision to get involved. But we made it our decision to be... We're proud to be in network marketing. We're proud to be professional networkers. Mm-hmm. And that was missing when we first started. It was almost like network marketing was the last chance saloon. And that was not going to be the way we wanted to build a business. We wanted to bring this pride into it. And I think that's what's changed over the years. Not the authenticity, it's about the pride of being involved in Forever.
That's a much better way of describing it. Thank you for that clarification, because that's kind of what I meant, because there was and this is kind of an Americanism I picked up. There was an ickiness to it, it was kind of like, and with no disrespect for your sponsor, but there was an element of that support, that authentic support wasn't there for you.
No, we had no support.
And I remember those days and learning from that. And I think why I raise it now, I've started to notice in my travels, the Forever is shifting a little bit, much more towards the USP of the human.
Yeah.
And rather than here's my this or here's my that, it's much more about authentic consumption of a fantastic product and sharing that. And it's difficult. And in that struggle is its power. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's like...
I think it's difficult for the people that don't fully engage. I think Forever is not a job. It's not even, we say it's our career and a profession. Yes, it is. But it becomes a way of life.
Yeah.
It becomes something you do without even thinking about it. You're not clocking in at 9 a.m. and, working till 5 p.m. It's who you are. You become part
It's
of
like
this.
your culture almost.
Yeah, it is a culture, and
Yeah.
it's a culture for good. And I think that's what John and I decided when we first started. We wanted to create something that was good. We saw what Rex had done. We saw his values, his ethics, and his whole the whole way he was. And we just thought, yes, we want to do that. We want to be like that. And I think that in being like that, we attracted really good quality people, and we set a fine example, and we built a system and a process that others could come with us on the journey and duplicate.
Yeah.
And I think that was the strength of the way we started.
Certainly consistency.
Yeah.
And that's similar, like, I didn't, in preparation for this discussion, I never draw those parallels between your experience, your mum's experience, and Jayne.
Yeah.
And just talking to you both now, and I'm thinking, you both came in the business with that very similar mindset. And your dad's why, like you said, he was, who did he work for again? CBS. In war zones. He was a war zone cameraman.
Yep.
And it's just remarkable. His book is incredible. Letters to Sophie, is that his book?
Well, it's the whole
In
process
Greek?
there.
Yeah.
Camera Bell is the name.
Is it?
Camera
Bell?
Yeah, which is the camera of war, basically.
It's incredible. But anyway, more importantly is, then you came in, and what was it that got you thinking, I'm going to do it too?
Well, actually, they drew me in. I didn't have a chance. I graduated university as an electrical engineer, as you could see.
Fits perfectly.
Yes, exactly. And they said, come in and help us. And I said, with only one condition. I'm going to do it for a while. 22 years ago.
Warming up.
Yeah. And what changed was me. I wanted everything else to change. I wanted everybody else to change. I was thinking the products. I was being very critical at everything. But what I understood is that nothing needed to change. It was perfect as it was. I was not ready for it. And when that changed in me, when I started to understand why we were there and what our purpose was, that we were not in there for us, but we were there to help others, I fell in love with it. I said, this is it. This is the only thing I want to do in my life. And if there's anything else, I don't want to know. This is it.
Mm-hmm. And you did find your wife in Forever.
And yes.
So
I guess
you were blessed in many ways.
Well, so many ways, because obviously, when you're immersed into this community, this family, where you don't see people out of, their differences, but out of what it is, who they are, as you said, the authenticity in them. And this is where I met her parents, and then I met her, and it was meant. Yeah. And that's what I still tell her sometimes.
So we're talking a bit about change. Personal change and all that. How is, and let's talk a little bit about your resume. 31 years in the business, chairman's bonus qualifier every year, which I have to say, that in this new world of compliance, that is not an easy task.
No.
And not only compliance, but just in authenticity again, is that to qualify for 20 plus years is extremely difficult. And then top FBO in Europe, top FBO over the years, top FBO in the world, part of our global leadership team, top FBO in UK forever.
Yeah.
And I know you don't say this to impress, but like John always say, I don't tell you this to impress, just to impress upon you. You remember that? And so your resume sound. So if there's someone I'm going to listen to, it should be Jayne Leach, right? So what have you noticed has changed a little bit? Because I sense change, and I'm loving it, especially since about 2021. I've really noticed our world is shifting a little bit. What have you noticed?
I think I've noticed a lot of change in 30 years, but I think the biggest change has been post-COVID.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
the whole world has changed. Some of it for the better, and some of it I think we're all still adjusting to, which is fine. But, gosh, how have we changed? I think that the way that the world has changed at the moment it's not always for the better. I think that... Are we talking about changing forever or change in the world?
Whatever. There's no rule to the question. Whatever you feel comfortable talking about. But what I'm trying to do is, I always try and approach the podcast if someone's listening to this, driving in the car, thinking, what do I need to do? What do I need to understand?
Right.
If they want to be successful in forever, or more importantly, successful in life,
okay.
what is it? What tools do I need? What do I need to understand? What are your observations?
So I think the change that we've seen post-COVID for our industry, our company Forever, has been nothing but positive.
Yeah.
And I say that because the whole world has changed in the way people want to work, want to show up and be present. And the one thing that we see now more and more and more is that people are looking for flexible working. They're looking for non-location dependent working. They're looking to work on their own terms. And I think all of the things that people are looking for with who have the job mentality still, I think Forever can deliver to them. So if you're looking for an opportunity, a business where you can work flexibly, this is a perfect opportunity for you. If you want to work afternoons and evenings, Forever will allow for that and frees up the mornings for you. If you want to work from 4 o'clock in the morning till midday and then have all your afternoons and evenings, then Forever is that opportunity for you. So I think post-COVID, this desire to be more in control of your own life, more in control of your own circumstances and future, looking for the right opportunity, Forever fits that want and need absolutely ideally. Ideally, it could not be a better time to be involved in Forever than it is right now. And that's me saying that, having been in Forever for 30 years.
Yeah, no, I definitely sense that.
It really could not be a better time.
Yeah, I've really noticed that, especially in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, what we're also seeing, and I'm experiencing, is kind of this wellness revolution as well, where young people are really, really interested in what they're consuming, how they're living.
More so than ever.
You know, and like my kids, when I was like, we've got two 26-year-olds and a 23-year-old, they read labels. Yeah. You know, they take vitamins or vitamins, as we say here, and I didn't at that age.
No, well, no, when I first joined Forever and people were looking at the products, we had a big job to educate people on why aloe, to educate people on nutrition. They had no idea about it. Now, 30 years on, people are very aware of it. And they're looking at the labels and they're not even just looking at the labels, they're looking at the footprint of the product. And one of the things I'm very proud to say is that we're in control of the aloe plantations, the growing of the aloe, the harvesting of the aloe, you know, the stabilisation of the aloe. We know every single detail of that. And that's becoming very important, knowing what your footprint of the product is. And we see that a lot now.
Yeah, that's interesting, because we see a lot more of not what you do, but why you do. Yeah. A lot more of the demand for our information is about why. And have you noticed that too, like in that sort of wellness space, and especially on social media?
Yeah, true on that. But also I see it in the events we do. I see it, you know, when we go out in job shows and we take the brand out with our FBOs and we do different things. How different ages are coming up when you're not expecting. You know, you see people and you say, well, I don't think they will come up to our stand, ask us questions, and then here they are holding the product, as you said, and looking and asking questions which you wouldn't even think that they will think because of their age. So yeah, very true.
Yeah, one of my kids, a 23-year-old, was talking to me about fish oil the other day, and I was having this conversation about EPA and DHA and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like thinking, this is unbelievable. This 23-year-old firefighter is really considering his long-term health and wellness. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just an amazing time to be engaged. Like, because you said, when we'd say to people, drink aloe vera, they were putting their cigarettes out. Yeah, you remember, like I remember being in business opportunity meetings and everyone smoking. And now people are really engaged in this wellness revolution.
But that's kind of the power of social media, I guess. You know, these youngsters now are having, you know, they're researching, they're looking, they're finding a product they like the look of, and they're going deeper into that.
Yes.
So, you know, your son maybe will have learnt that fish oils are incredibly good for you, and they do the research. And then, of course, as Forever, we have one of the finest fish oils in the world. Why is it? We can answer those questions, and then we have another happy customer.
Yep.
So,
but the demand is a pull.
Yeah,
before we were pushing.
Exactly, and that is exactly the way to say it. We were pushing before.
Yep.
Now people are more aware, more educated, and looking, and we can supply the very finest products.
Yeah. And you talk about vertical integration. We were just February, we were down in the Dominican Republic in the aloe fields.
I've been there, beautiful.
Yeah, it is remarkable.
It's spiritual.
It is.
Yeah, it's
and
moving.
The contribution that is made to that local society is remarkable. We had over 350 people work for us there. And that whole economy is based on, and it's interesting actually. We one of the people, like I said, we were in Sweden 2 days ago, and a lady stood up and said she was there with us, and she said that I felt so grateful for them, and I went in and she was thanking everybody. Yeah. Thank you. And one of the guys who spoke English said, no, actually, thank you. My grandfather worked here, my father worked here, and I work here. Thank you. And then this sort of symbiotic, love fest, and I got emotional, and I'm like, and it's. But
that's the power of Forever.
Absolutely.
That is the very heart of Forever.
The essence of it. Yeah.
And I think that is what stands us aside from any other company. Is the very heart and the essence of who we are.
Yeah. The reason why.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm driving along in my car, listening to this podcast, and I'm feeling good about Forever. Let's talk a little bit about some of the. Let's talk a little bit about social media for a minute, because you said that's one of the good things about social media. Well, there's always a bad part about it.
Yeah.
How do I navigate this new world of social media? What is its role? And I know there's not a panacea answer to that, but just in your observation, because I know that you're pretty active on it.
But I can only talk from experience.
Yep.
And, when I first started in Forever, we didn't have mobile phones.
Yep.
We didn't have the internet. We didn't have, anything. And when I fast forward to today and look at what we have, if anything, we've got too much. So I think you have to find that middle ground as how to make the very best of, if you like, pre-COVID work for you and the very best of post-COVID work for you. And I say that because I think COVID opened up the social media platform and technology for us because it was needed at an even greater level. We had the luxury of being able to keep our businesses growing and prospering and moving forward because of social, because of digital technology and all the platforms that we have access to. For me personally, it's been a big learning curve. I was from the old school where we made a phone call or we would talk to people when we were out and about. We would meet people and sit and have what we called a one-to-one. We would show them the business. They would think about it. We'd invite them to a business presentation. They would come along. We would answer all their questions and they would, get happily involved in Forever. That process could take anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And
the travel.
And the travel.
Yeah,
we were constantly in our cars. We were all over the UK. We were meetings north, south, east, west. That's what we did. That was, kind of the expectation of building a business. Whereas now, of course, you can stay at home and you can work from your home office. And there are good points and downsides to that. It can be lonely just being at home in the office. But what social media does do, and this is what I've done, is I've managed to build a huge global business using the power of social media and the digital platforms. But I had to go back to school to learn that. And it wasn't necessarily easy, and I'm not the best one on social media, but I learn from some of the younger generation, and we share and we collaborate. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I've noticed right now, in this period we're in right now, is that personally, I don't think you can build a business just on social media alone that lasts. It's very fickle.
What should I be doing on social media?
I think social media and the opportunity should be hybrid. It should be part heart to heart, eyeball to eyeball, energy to energy, because that's when the passion grows, the belief grows. And then I think social media wraps around that to be able to help you engage and reach out. Mm-hmm. So if anybody, when you're very first starting, for me, I like to keep the social media plan really simple, because if we're not careful, we can overwhelm people. And when we overwhelm people, they start saying, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. And the whole essence of Forever is it's very simple. There's only a few key elements that you need to focus on in order to begin to put a business into momentum. So I like to set a new FBO up with social media being like their online resume, if you like. This is who I am. So when people come and check you out, they see who you are. They see a bit about your background, they see a bit about your family life, they see a bit about your work life, they see a bit about why you're excited about this new business you've got involved in. They see the change in you when you've been using the products, especially if you use a C9, the Clean 9 program. They see that before and after difference. They begin to see you achieving success, and that becomes, something that is attractive to other people. So I kind of use social media to take that new FBO and the people that follow them on a journey. So they're kind of telling a story, really, of what Forever is doing for them. And that's kind of the base level. Let social media be your storyteller and show Forever in all its glory and positivity. But also be authentic and realistic.
Yeah.
If you're having a tough day, or if something hasn't gone right, or you've just missed a promotion, then also be authentic about that as well. Because this isn't, as I say, a get rich quick. You've got to put your time and effort in.
Yeah, and I love that. It's authenticism and honesty is just so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the company's role in social media, do you think?
Well, we need to be navigating it as we're seeing the changes. Compliance is a big part of it, obviously.
Yeah.
So we are very mindful of, on giving guidance, but not telling people to be afraid of it, because there's so much of that. So our role is to, empower them to do more of what it is that they're bringing results to them, because obviously an entrepreneur that works in Forever, as Jayne, you cannot hold that person. You need to, be there, help them whatever they're coming in, and also help the new people that are coming in to know exactly what works and what are the best practices. And we do trainings on those, and we have many things that we could provide, and we are providing on them. So I think it's another part, which is the embracing the change. It's the mindset of that, because obviously the change that we have seen in the business has been tremendous with COVID and everything else. So there are a lot of people that were resisting that change. They didn't want that change. They didn't want to be online. They didn't want to be showing themselves up and all that stuff. So they wasted some time on embracing change. So as long as you're embracing, and I really love what Jayne said about combining those two worlds, not having just everything, on the social media aspect and nothing going out and talking to people. I think that's perfect.
But I think that's a really interesting point that you just brought up. It's about people saying, I can't do social media, I'm no good at it. I think what happens is you have to look at generational aspects of the FBOs in Forever. The youngsters come in and it's social media second nature to them. I'm sure they were all born with a chip in their arms, but it's second nature to them. And then you've got kind of the next generation who are good at it, but they're still not brilliant at it. Then you've got the older generation like myself, and we look at the younger generation and say, well, can we do what they do? And what I say is social media is there for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're 18 just starting or 70 and just starting. You can use social media to your advantage in the very, very best way that you can.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I was scared of it to begin with when it came. I thought, how do I position myself? I'm definitely one of the older generation in Forever. But you just take your time to realise how powerful it can be for you. And you position yourself in a way that suits you and your audience. And have fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. That's what I do on social media. If I haven't got my makeup on, I haven't got my makeup on. If I'm sitting at home in the kitchen, so be it. If I'm at a big event in Forever, so be it. I want to show me in every aspect of me. And I think if people see that, then they go, I can do that too.
Yeah, I love that. And you guys know my paltry social media presence is extremely authentic.
I know you're on TikTok. I nearly fell off my chair when you said you were on TikTok the other day.
Yeah,
I was like,
you're sweating and you're like running and you're off a pool.
I'm not on
everything.
TikTok anymore. And I'll tell you why,
Sure.
because my wife has an aversion to TikTok, and so she doesn't let any of the kids have it. And so she found out I was on it, and then I got sat down and talked to. So I'm on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. And that's kind of Facebook and Instagram are the two platforms that I position myself on, and very different audiences.
Yeah.
And
how are they different though? Because I'm lost on Facebook. Facebook, there's so much. When I open that page, there's so much happening that I'm all. How are they different?
I think that on Instagram people for me personally, I get more engagement on Instagram than I do on Facebook.
Me too. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think I like Instagram because I love photography.
Yeah.
And so I love the images and, you know, and the videos. I just enjoy it.
That's where I was saying about this wellness revolution. That stimulus for me is coming from Instagram.
Yeah.
It's like my feed is filled with wellness stuff, and I just flipping love it.
Yeah.
You know, like all this information that we are fed that just leads right into what we have to offer.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, you talk about compliance.
Yeah.
You know, it's never been easier to be compliant, because really you just have to say fish oil. And there's that much information out there. You don't have to go and make the claims, and you know.
But also, Aidan, the amount of information the company give us that is all compliant. I mean, we have all the digital assets we need provided to us from Forever, and they're beautifully presented, beautifully packaged. I mean, we don't even have to think about that.
That's a great observation about not recreating the wheel.
We don't need to recreate the wheel, and that's the key to a successful business. You do not need to come in to Forever and recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
You know, the process, the system, it's all in place. What you need to do is work on yourself, your own personal development, work on your communication skills, learning how to answer the commonly asked questions, how to show someone the business, how to find out what people's pain points are, and then show them how Forever can be the solution to those pain points. Mm-hmm. And that's what we should focus on, because you do a pretty good job at doing the rest.
I want to clarify that when you say you, it's nothing to do with Aidan O'Hare, because you know I'm crap at it. So. But I think that's a great point, because it's one of the things that I think we should discuss just a little bit about is this, the USP is the FBO. Mm. We all have the same product. We all have, in a lot of cases, the same geography. We have the same marketing plan. We have the same compensations, all these things. The difference is the person, the FBO.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to create stress in the new person, because I want to stress how important it is just to be the best version of you. Yeah.
And that's, I think, where social media can be negative.
Yes.
Because if we're not careful, we will compare ourselves to others and we automatically think that we're a failure.
Yes.
And so for me, it's very important to empower somebody to become the best version of themselves in direct proportion to what it is that they want from Forever. And we want the retail opportunity, the team building opportunity, the wealth creating opportunity to be relevant to that person. And that's the beauty of Forever. Somebody can start out saying, you know, I want to make £300 or £400 a month. And we can show them easily how to do that, and we can build their confidence, and we can show them the simplicity of how to engage with customers, how to look after those customers, how to get referrals. And then they tick the box and they go, wow, that was really good, I can do that. And suddenly maybe they look a bit further and say, well, maybe I could become a manager. You know, maybe I could achieve Eagle. And so they go on to another journey. But
it's almost like how important it is to set the correct expectations.
Absolutely. And that's why you've got to find out very quickly, when you're working with a brand new FBO, what do they want?
So there's the question, how do you do that?
By asking questions.
Exactly.
It's a question, it's a fact-finding exercise. And for me, when I sit with a brand new FBO, that very first meeting can be all about them. What's important to them? What do they want their life to look like? You know, and for most people, they've never thought about that. Because when you're in a job, it's very much you're part of somebody else's grand plan. And when you're in Forever, you suddenly start thinking about what could you do?
I love that questions. Powerful, poignant, patient questions.
Absolutely. And take the time to ask the questions without feeling uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not just about saying what you want. It's about saying what you want and then saying why.
And then wait for the answers, right?
And wait for the answers. Mm-hmm. And how will that make a difference? And how will that impact on the family? And how important is that to you? And are you prepared to put the time and the energy in and learn some different skills in order to get that? And that can take a couple of hours, or it can take 5 minutes.
Is it fair to say the perfect one-to-one is a series of questions and very little about the sponsor or the presenter, right?
I don't think it should be anything to do with us.
Right.
I mean, we are there as the mentor to help them when there is that connection. Mm-hmm. I think initially it should be, how can I serve? How can I help? How can I help you change your life with Forever Living? Through my experience.
I love that, because this is a service business, isn't
Absolutely.
it? You know, what are the issues in your life? What are the pain points? What are the frictions that we can help you mitigate?
Exactly. And that's actually, if you want to be successful in Forever, if your mindset is like that, then you will achieve the success you're looking for. If it becomes just all about me, people know that, they feel that. There's no authenticity in that.
There's no longevity in that.
There's no longevity.
Yeah.
It can be very exciting and fast-paced, and it will get to a certain level, and then it will plateau, and then suddenly people in the team will realise that it's all about that one person, and they go, no. And so if you want to build a forever business that will be around forever and become generational, which again was important to us, then you have to be there for the people. And then when you get that achieved and you tick that box, then you start looking at the marketing model and the opportunity with Forever, and you say, gosh, where can I go with it? And then as you start creating this business, this team, this energy, then you look back and say, who's coming with me? Who am I taking with me? Because this is never a journey that you can achieve on your own.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot be successful unless you help other people.
That's one of our key focus in our growth and
absolutely.
Is to get
and it's a joy, an absolute joy, to help and work with people that really catch the vision of Forever.
It's too hard to do alone.
You can't. You can't do it alone. It's impossible.
It is.
You can be a retailer alone.
Yeah. But even then, you got to have a good relationship with your customers. You know, like we see. You know, talking a little bit about digital, we see a lot of, not a lot, but we see some that try to have a purely online retail business, which in some cases works. You know, but it doesn't work unless they have great customer service, they have great follow-up, they have great returns policies in place, and then they get a momentum. And so it's all based on service.
All of it. And if I look at my online customers as opposed to my local community customers, I have a far better relationship with my community customers than I do with my online ones. Yeah. Not to say my online ones aren't important and valuable, because they are, but the relationship I have with the local people is different.
Yeah.
But you still have to create the relationship.
Yeah. I was reading something the other day where they were talking about how this lady, this young lady was accusing this old guy of being a boomer because he wanted to be face to face, and he identified that the actual connection that these young people build digitally is as vital, is as important, is as meaningful. You just do it through a different means. And that's what you were saying earlier, this hybrid is that technology only allows me to connect with more people, but I still have to connect, you know?
Yeah, and just last year we decided to do some trainings in a slightly different way, and everybody qualified for the trainings by doing a certain criteria. And the reward was to actually come to my house for personal training in small groups. And the team just went crazy for it. And this wasn't the older generation, this was the younger generation. And we had about 30 people at a time come to the home, and we did a full day's training, workshop with them, mentoring, coaching. And the impact was incredible. You know, to be able to bring these guys who were building online together in a format where they could laugh and feel, and this energy was there, and we could empower them and get them to stand up and chat and talk to a group in a live format rather than just in front of a camera. Yeah. And it was interesting how nervous 3D. They were to begin with, and then suddenly they found their feet, they found their voice, and off they went. Yeah. And that's why I believe that the hybrid approach is the way forward. It's, you know, probably about 60-70% online, and then get in front of people as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, a great thought. So, Michael, we were on the cusp of a new opportunity here in the UK.
Definitely.
New building, new location, newish leadership.
New beginning.
New beginning. Yeah. What are your plans? What's your strategy? What's your thoughts?
My strategy is all in, Aidan. I mean, what we need to do is to be for every single FPO, every single person that joins and decides to start on this journey, to be right next to them. So we try to do the best we can in supporting them. We try to do the best we can in communicating with them. We try to engage with our leadership team. We try to connect with different areas within this country, which is quite big, and not only here, do it also in Ireland, and try to do a good job also in Iceland. So I think it's where we come with this determination that forever changes lives. We have seen it in all our lives, and And a lot of people still don't know about Forever. Even here in this country, which is so many million, a lot of people, most of the people don't know about Forever, and which is mind-blowing, but it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
It is where we decide, where we take ownership and we say, well, we're not going to wait. We'll go out and tell the people that Forever exists. And they will decide if this is right for them, and if it's not, fine. Because we know that there are people out there looking a way out of the situation they're in.
I think that we are in such an incredible situation now in the UK. You know, I believe that business goes in 7-year growth phases, and I think we're right at the beginning of a new 7-year growth phase in the UK. You've very kindly given us Michael, and we love him for his energy and commitment and focus and support and help and his vision. You can't fault him for that. It's absolutely incredible. You've given us this amazing new central location, easy access, and it's just a beautiful place. We can bring our FBOs and our prospects here with pride, which is really, really great. And, you know, we now have an economy here in the UK where Forever is needed. And I just think we're right on the cusp now of having the most unbelievable growth over the next 3, 4, 5 years. So exciting times.
We are definitely seeing that globally.
Yeah.
You know, as we've talked about recently, you know, we came out of this sort of like hibernation of COVID.
Yeah.
And we had that flat couple of years, and then we're 5% up last year. We're 12% up so far this year.
Incredible.
You know, and that is just an indication of, it's not a financial thing. It's like that's 12% more people that are engaged and involved, and that's a wonderful thing. And you know, this whole story, Jayne, over 31 years is been a roller coaster. It's been we've had amazing times, and your consistency has just been unbelievable. And we're deeply grateful for that, and we're deeply grateful that you gave us so much of your time this morning. And I know most people know that, but we don't pay any of our leaders to speak for us, to support, to travel. You just got back from...
I was I had a few days in Zimbabwe working with the Zambian and Zimbabwe team. Then I went to Johannesburg and did a big training for Oni there.
Yeah.
And then we had a 4-day managers retreat in the Drakensbergs, which was incredible, absolutely incredible. And to see the growth there from the team, because they had a period where things were quite barren. The growth and the uptake now from the South African team is incredible. And then I flew back and had a day in the UK, then went to Innsbruck and did the kickstart there. And Michael, you came across, and the energy there, it was incredible. Everywhere I go at the moment, I'm just seeing this. It's like these new buds of growth, and it's brilliant, you know, because...
And I should say, I said Germany, the DACH region.
DACH region.
Yeah, DACH region.
Used to saying that.
You know, honestly, I totally agree with you about this perfect storm.
Yeah.
And it's not theoretical, because we're seeing it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and next week, in a couple of days, actually, we're off to Brazil, and it's starting to re-go in Brazil, and so it's a remarkable time, but it's a remarkable time because of remarkable people. And it's people that even though we've talked about all this change, the fundamental thing has stayed the same. Great people with a great heart, with a great motivation, willing to serve. And that's what you've identified perfectly today. We've talked about so many things. And I don't know if I really are capable of expressing my gratitude enough, because our journey started together.
It did.
You know, John held my hand through many terrible presentations, and you comforted me when I screwed up so many times. And
we laughed together and we cried together.
Yeah, a lot. And I think it's so important that people understand that.
Yeah.
I really get disappointed when someone comes in and forgive my French, but every thought's a star, you know, and I'm going to get a jet, it just isn't like that.
No.
But it is this wonderful, meaningful, powerful journey that it's our life.
It is.
You know,
it's our life.
When you talked about Dusty, the very first time I connected with Forever was with Dusty Green. And it's before the office, the previous office had any furniture in it, and there's a couple of plastic chairs, and I was sat in a plastic chair. And I've told this story before, but this old lady, and I say old because she was 80, and she said, the reason I stay in this business is because I earned enough money selling a little bit of aloe vera and a little bit of tooth gel that I could go to a restaurant and eat a meal and not have to do the dishes. That was when the goosebumps came for me, you know, and I get a little bit emotional on this, because then Dusty opened the door flung open, you know what it was like. And it was my interview, you know, and he said, "Hey, welcome, come on in," you know, he is. And in that moment, that 15 minutes, he hugged me first, which is really unusual for an Englishman. You know, I was like, what the hell? And then everything was about me.
Yeah.
And it was like I was the most important person in the world in those 15 minutes. That journey went right up until we lost him. Yeah. And something I've never told you, it started with a hug and it ended with a hug in that journey. And there's something wonderfully bookendish about that part of Forever UK.
He was the most incredible man.
Yeah, he was.
And I'll never forget the first time meeting him. And I remember John saying, I said, "Come on, we're going up to meet Dusty Green." He said, "Who's Dusty?" I said, "Dusty's the MD. He's come over from America to run the company." And he said, "If he's all backslapping yank, teeth and hair, and, you know," he said, "I went out to there." And I said, "John, let's just go and see where it goes." And we walked in, and Dusty was a small guy.
Yeah, with no hair.
With no hair. And he wasn't backslapping, and he was very quiet. And I'll never forget sitting with him. And we loved his honesty. And we left the building, and we just looked at each other and we said, we're in, because his honesty, his authenticity of, you know, not making it anything other than what it was in the moment.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and
the journey's been great. Bob took over after that, and he was brilliant.
Bob was great,
you know,
fantastic.
and now we've got the Vittoroulises in place, the real Greek. We even put a restaurant across the road for you, the real Greek.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's another chapter.
Yeah, and we're thrilled about it.
Yeah,
and,
it's another chapter.
You look fantastic, vibrant, ready to go, Forever 2.0.
Well, people say to me, why do you still do Forever? You know, you've achieved everything, You've been at the top of your game for 30 years. There's nothing left for you to achieve. And I say, how can you not do Forever? How can you not meet somebody who is, as I was all those years ago, struggling financially, no purpose, no direction in their life, no opportunity? Mm-hmm. How can you not say, hey, come with me, I've got something to show you?
No, absolutely.
And so
I feel that
Forever is who we are.
Injected into my veins, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, we've talked for probably an hour. 58 minutes. And if Greg was here, he'd be kicking me under the table because
he's the one wrapping it up all the time.
He's always so a shout out to Greg.
I'm sorry Greg isn't here, but we've had a great podcast.
No, I know, and we've really missed him. And in fact, you talk about why do Forever. Greg and I were talking the other day, and he said something that was really powerful. We were talking about it, and it's not easy to run this business. It really isn't. There's a lot of complexity, a lot of challenges. You got the global issues, and you talk about the world is in chaos at times. Yeah. And Greg said, "What else would you want to do with your life?"
Exactly.
And it was just such a remarkable moment, and it reverberated with me as, what is the alternative?
I can't think of any alternative.
But there isn't, because... No. We work with our friends. We have a great product. We have a great opportunity, and it's just I don't want to go away from this thinking it's a panacea and everything's great, because I have nights when I cry myself to sleep. Yeah. There's nights when I'm terrified, but there's a lot more nights that I close my eyes and think, man, that was bloody brilliant. Yeah. And that's what makes it wonderful. So on behalf of Powered by Forever, episode number 9, thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing to be in my hometown almost.
Yeah, but you're home.
Yeah, Laura's home for sure, and to be with you. We wish you the very best in this new building. We'll be cutting the ribbon here in just a couple hours. And so thank you for all that you do. We wish you the best.
We're going to put the UK firmly.
UK, Ireland, and Iceland is going to come back. Yeah. They should be watching us. They should be watching us.
What does he say all the time? One team, one goal.
One team, one goal, definitely. One team, one goal. That's it. And I want to thank you, Aidan. I want to thank you really, because with your vision, your passion, your love that you bring in, and of course with Greg, it makes such a big difference. Yeah. I could say about myself, I wouldn't be leaving my home back. I love my country. I love, my family. But because you asked for it, and with Greg, and I looked at Berg, and we knew that it was, you asked for it, because we look up to you, and we want you to know that.
That's very kind of you to say.
We're really proud of you. You know that I mean it. But it's great to be in a family when you can look up to people like Jayne, like yourself, like Greg, and you want to be like them. And that has been my life, looking up to my father, looking up to my mother, Ilke, Rehan. It's a community which is like, it strives and believes in you to be better. And what is there a better place to do that?
Exactly.
Yeah. What's the alternative?
There's
Exactly.
no,
It's
I don't want to know.
Honestly,
I don't
it
wanna
is a
know.
very powerful bookend.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Exactly.
what is the alternative? And before we close, get the tattoo.
Get the tattoo.
Because when you said about that elephant, I know how much is wrapped up in that for you. I know the journey of your life is almost symbolized in those dark, wonderful moments in Africa, both on safari and searching to help those
And
African
of course
people.
the charity that we have out there as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Malawi,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, you know, so I wish you luck. Text me and show me a picture.
Well, it depends where I put the tattoo, whether I text you a picture
No,
of it
you'll
or not.
text me. We're friends.
We're friends.
I'll post it. Don't worry. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you,
wonderful.
Aidan.
And on behalf of all of us here in the United Kingdom, I hope that you enjoyed this few minutes we spent together, reminiscing, I suppose, looking to the future, excited about where we're at. And I hope you've got some value out of it. For me, absolutely. For me, I know at the end of today, I'm going to lie down and think, you know, what is the alternative? To be honest, I don't care, because we got lucky 30 years ago, both Jayne and I and Michael, and we hope the same for you. It's been a remarkable journey. Come join us.